Now it's time to put the O-rings into the displacer cylinder. So you have two O-rings here. They're quite large, and they go into the O-ring groove of the displacer cylinder. Now I pre-greased these O-rings, so when they go in, they should stay nice like that. Okay, so I have one O-ring in one side, and I'm going to flip this over and put the second O-ring into the other groove. If it pops out, just make sure you put it back in. I'm now putting the second O-ring that's been pre-greased into the O-ring groove of the displacer cylinder. Right, the next step is to put the bottom plate, the displacer cylinder and the top plate, and assemble them together with 12 nylon screws. So I have the O-rings all ready to go in the displacer cylinder. I'm going to put it onto the top plate. Just like that. And I want to line up these grooves in the displacer cylinder with each of the 12 holes. Now you can see there's a hair in here, some debris. You want to make sure there's no debris in between the O-rings and the bottom plate and the top plate. So I'm just going to line up these holes as best as possible. Okay, so that's reasonably aligned to the bottom plate, and now I'm going to drop the top plate assembly into the displacer cylinder and line up the holes as best as possible as well. Now it's moved on me slightly here, so I'm just going to realign it. I'm fairly happy with that. So now it's time to put in the nylon screws through all of the 12 holes. Okay, so I'm just going to put these nylon screws in by hand. They drop through the top plate, and then there's threads in the bottom plate where you can screw in the screw. So I'm just going to get each screw started. And go all the way around. So I'm just using a screwdriver to screw it into place. It's very easy to slip out of these slotted nylon screws, which is an unfortunate part of this design. So be careful. It often helps to hold the end of the screwdriver onto the screw while you're screwing it down. But at this point I'm just getting the screws snug to the top surface. I'm going to screw it down in sort of a star pattern once they're all snug to the surface. So you may notice that during this, that one of the screws right here doesn't actually fit through this hole. It gets stuck at the top. And so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to file this diameter of the screw head down to a diameter that fits in this hole. Okay, and then once we've done that, we can drop the screw in and we can start tightening this power cylinder down. So I'm going to leave this one empty for now, and I'll file this down once I screw this down tightly. So the star pattern I'm talking about is I'm just going to tighten this side down, and then I'm going to tighten this side down, and then I'm going to tighten this side down, and then I'll tighten this side down, and then I'm just going to go across as much as possible. And then finally, when it's all quite snug, I'm just going to make sure that I tighten them all down and go all the way around just one last time. And you may hear somewhat of a cracking sound. Let's see if I can get it to do it. Just like that. And that's about as tight as you can get these screws, just to that cracking sound. But you may notice when you're going back and forth that some of the screws begin to loosen off, and that's just because you've brought the whole assembly closer, and you just need to screw them down and make sure that they're all tight by the time you've screwed all the screws down. Okay, so now it's time to make this diameter of this screw closer to the diameter of this hole right here. So I'm going to place this file flat on the table, and I'm just going to drag the diameter and spin it in my fingers as I file the edge down. So what I'm trying to do is just make this round and also reduce the diameter of the top of the head of the screw. And when I spin the head of the screw opposing the file, I can get a really nice and round screw head. Okay, so I have this nice and rounded. It fits through the hole, as you can see right here. That'll pass through. So I'll take it out of here and put it all the way through. Now you need a screwdriver that can fit through these holes. So not all screwdrivers will. So this one right here actually won't pass through this hole, it'll get stuck. So I need to use a relatively thin screwdriver, flat screwdriver, to pass through this hole, to screw this screw into the bottom plate. So it's a bit challenging, but you can get this. There we go. So you can get this screw to pass through each one of these fins on the power cylinder. Okay, so There we go, and that's starting to snug up quite nicely. You can see this screw rests a little bit higher than the other screws because it's actually on this surface. The head of the screw is on this surface as opposed to the top plate. So now it's time to lock this component down. So I'm going to take the 7/64 Allen key and just go around quarter turn, another quarter turn on this side here, and then a quarter turn with the nylon screw, and then just going a quarter turn all the way around so that this power cylinder seats quite flat to the top plate. So you can see that it is not flat at the moment. It's actually higher on this side, so I'm going to have to bring that down so that this is the cylinder is nice and parallel with the bearing support.